Now, I appreciate that some of you won't be able to watch me this evening. We've had a huge amount of Facebook Lives tonight, so if you dip in, that's absolutely fabulous. If you watch this later, that's absolutely fabulous. It's actually just about getting this last stage finished, really. And to be honest, I think we're all almost there. Now, the other thing I wanted to say was that you must never worry about starting or finishing these projects. These projects are meant to last you a year, you know, something for you to sort of dip in and out of, to have in a bag and sort of take on holiday if you want to, that type of thing, because a lot of these projects have had a lot of hand stitching in. So you must never worry that if you do it, that's the first thing, and B, if you finish it, or even start it, it's purely there for inspiration. And if you start a little bit of it, for instance, all the tea dyeing that everybody has done, and there's been loads. I mean, I actually haven't counted up. Maybe 20, 30 people have done the tea dyeing, which is great because it means now you've got a stash of tea dyed fabric that you could use with anything. Or any project. You don't have to make the treasure tea box, you absolutely don't. And I don't want people to worry about it, because oftentimes, funnily enough, I was watching Abigail's live from earlier, and I would imagine that most people on there said that they would start it later, they would wait for it all to finish and then look at it. They didn't know when they might start it, and it's not about we wanting you to actually do it straight away. It's more about giving you the inspiration and then just holding your hand for as long as you need it if you're interested in making it. So I wanted to get that point across, really. Anyway, good evening to everybody. I will. It doesn't matter if you're late because I haven't got a roll call, funnily enough. So let me just get that on there. I think I'm already down from watching Abigail. Yeah. So I don't want anybody to think that you're under any sort of pressure to even start it. Okay, it is a big project, and it's taken me quite a few hours to do, but my job is to show you. My job isn't to say to you, we've got a label, just tuck my label out the way. My job isn't to tell you to do it, you have to do it. My job is to say, here's a little something. When you've got a minute, maybe that's something you want to try. You could even do a little bit. Now, on my desk, I wanted to show you something that my mum started, and I thought, because I really thought I would like to incorporate it into my work, but it doesn't suit it, so I can't. But I want you to have a look at it because it's only one little tiny piece. I'll show you in a sec. One little tiny piece, and it's something that you can use for something else. It's something that she obviously sort of wanted to achieve, let's put it that way. Let me show you, and then you won't think I'm completely bonkers. So it's just this little piece here. It's just a tiny little piece. It's full of stitching as it would be. So there's a lot of free motion stitching. So she's got some layers going on. So there's kind of like a painted. She used to paint her sort of wadding and stuff. So she's painted that, and then she's layered a piece of it looks like organza over the top, and then it's been free motion embroidered. So you've already got a little background, and then you've got this sort of frayed piece of, maybe it's Hessian burlap, that type of thing. This is paper. You can see if I turn it like that, you can see you can see the print just about. It's paper, which she stitched down, and then she stitched those sort of oriental sort of buttons, charms, I suppose they are. Now, if you're in the main group, we've done momigami work, which actually lends itself to this type of, this paper. And I looked at that today, and I have this just on my sideboard in my sitting room, and it's, I suppose, if I read books, it could be a bookmark. I don't read books. There's not many people that do now, are there? I mean, I like a book. I do like a book. I've got probably a couple of thousand, but I'm not an avid reader. I can't, my mind can't be still long enough. But it's a lovely little piece that I just have hanging around. And so what I'm trying to say is this. If you've looked at the Treasury box, and I'll show you mine in a sec, and you think, oh, that's far too much for me, I can't possibly do any of that, do a little and do something as small as this, okay? What is it? 6.5 inches by, let's say, 2. So it's not very big. And you could use some of the techniques that I've done over the last few weeks and just make yourself a little piece like that, because that to me is a little piece of treasure. Like I say, I wanted to include it in my box, but it doesn't work. You can see by the, look, if I bring my lid in, you'll see by the colours it just doesn't go, and I can't force it. I can't make it happen. So I will save it and use it for something else. But when I finish now, when I finish in 3/4 of an hour or so, then I shall take it back downstairs and put it on my sideboard again. It just sits there. It just sits there. It doesn't do anything other than just sit. and it's a little bit of treasure. Perhaps because Mum did it, or perhaps because I just love the look at it. I love the fact she stitched through paper, that she's put the metal on there. So think of all the different elements that she's used. And that's the sort of thing that you could do, but a small little piece. Because I don't want you to be intimidated by it all, because sometimes I'm sure you must be. I do understand, and we are rejigging the group because I do feel that you're being overwhelmed with things. So we are going to strip it back a bit. But anyway, there we are. So I tried very much to use it on my box. But look, it just shouts at me. It's not, it's just not going to go. So I'm reluctantly putting it to one side. So we'll stay on the overhead because I want you to have a look at this. I'm sorry, my camera seems a bit wonky. So let me just take this out. So this is the box put together now. So all 4 sides and the bottom have been stitched together. It's nice and soft, and if you've used anything else other than Bosal, yours might be even softer. Okay, so it could be that you want some structure, or it could be that you like it soft and squidgy. You have to line it with something, so you're either going to just use a regular quilting cotton, use the same sizes, don't forget seam allowance, because you're going to have to stitch it together, and you could make a lining, you know, with your just your regular cotton, let's put it that way. And I think overall I'm really quite pleased with how it's turned out. I mean, to be honest, there could be an awful lot more work on it, but I think, you know, time, we're all strapped for time, aren't we? And I do appreciate the fact that, you know, those of you that have got lives don't have the sort of time I may have for stitching. It's just that it's because it's my job, basically. So do as much as you can. Don't forget what I've told you about this little piece. So for instance, that could be that, couldn't it? So a couple of Suffolk puffs, some gorgeous buttons from the charity shop, and that one, I love that one. It's like a bit of carpet. A bit of lace, blah, blah, blah. And you could make yourself a piece of treasure, because that's what it's all about. And then maybe in the future, that's something that you could look at and revisit. Who knows? But you can see how I've stitched it. You can see the stitches I showed you last week, was it? Last Friday, I think it was, how we just slip stitch around, and because we've got the cotton back showing, it's very, very easy to stitch. You just literally catch the soft, beautiful soft cotton on the back of that Bosal. It depends what you've used. If you've used something like, this is the Pelmet Violin, or craft violin, I think it's called now. then you can't stitch that. You have to glue it basically. So if you've used anything other than the Bozal, then you're going to have to glue it, either hot glue it or use I use this Collal glue, which is a textile glue, or you could use the Gutermann glue that our Kath likes. So it's up to you what you use, but you can't really stitch. You could lace it, and I talked to you about that last week, about lacing the edges in, and you could easily do that. Just grab it here, take your thread, grab it there, and work your way across, and that way you're grabbing the fabric. But you could kind of glue the front. You could put something like maybe a Bonder web on there and glue that to the back of your we don't really want Bonder web. I'm trying to think what else you could use. Well, yes, I suppose a Bonder web if you've got a soft backing. So you need something to grip your fabric and everything. But anyway, so let's quickly move on. So I've stitched it together, and I stitched it so it was, let me just do it. Obviously you want to be careful with your stitches. You want to make sure you've really knotted it off well and what have you. And I've literally just slip stitched down the side seams. I really enjoyed doing that. It's not often I can sit and hand sew, so it was really nice to do that. And then I just turned it through, and obviously, as I said, be very, very careful with your stitching and all your bits and bobs as well. But don't worry too much if you have to get the glue out and glue some of them down. Okay, now, so let's just pop that to one side for a second. So the internal box, which is your lining, so this is obviously what we see. And I was trying to explain that to you last week, that you want the best side inside. So don't forget, I cut mine down by 1/8 of an inch on 2 sides. So this is my original piece. I took 1/8 of an inch off here and 1/8 of an inch off there. Now you could go a wee bit bigger, so not quite 1/4 inch. So we're looking at, I think, is it 3/16, something like that, or 3/8. 3/8. Yeah, it might be 3/8. That's what I'm trying to think. Oh no, 3/8 is not right. 2/8 is 1/4. So it's between. It's been between 1/8 and 1/4. Okay. I don't really want you to take 1/4 inch off, depending what you're using. If it's thick velvet, then yes. But I just used a regular acrylic. I don't think it's wool. I think it's an acrylic felt. Well, either or, it's the same sort of thickness. But you want to take off 1/8 of an inch and a smidge more around the long side and the short side. Okay, and the reason for that is because when we put our box together, you've obviously got extra thickness with your whatever you're using fabrics. If it's just a quilting cotton, I don't think that's too bad, but you still might struggle to get it into inside your treasure tea box. So please be aware before you glue all this down, because I had to glue mine. I'm sorry, it's a bit rough. I had to glue mine. It's very rough. I don't think I've got a good side to show you. I'll leave it like that. This is the glue side of the Vilene, and quite honestly, when I was doing it, I thought, well, actually, I could have glued this in onto the Vilene, but actually, I don't think it really matters. It's very, very stable. And all I did, and I'm going to show you how I did it with the lid, I just snipped across the corners and brought it back. I found that to be perfect. If I did anything else, it was too bulky, and you've got it 3/16, is that right? Oh my gosh, I never could do maths. And it will just about fit in there. And you might think it's a bit tight, let's say, and you've got to get it right in. So get your hand in there, your 2 fingers in the corner, here and here, here and here. Get your 2 fingers in there and lift up your sides all the way around. Push that inner box right in. Okay, you really want to push it in, and you should end up with it. Actually, let's just push that in a bit more. You should end up with it just about like that. Do you see? You might see just a smidge. if you don't want that to show, then cut it down a bit more. I don't really want you to take a 1/4 inch off, but you might have to. And what I suggest is that you do one of the sides and then you measure it and you make sure that it sits nicely, but it's going to fit right in. You've got to push it in, and this is where your stitching has got to be strong, because you're pushing it in and pulling the sides of the treasure box up so it fits like an absolute glove. Okay, so then I think to myself, well, how am I going to finish that off? You know what, I was thinking about this all day, and I'm going to stitch it, and I'm going to stitch it with the thread that I used to stitch the box with, so this sort of neutral colour. I thought about it long and hard. I thought, well, I can't do red because the red would show so much on this. I certainly don't want that. I don't really want to glue it because with hand stitching, you know what it's like. You can manipulate it, you can get it in there, you can work it in, you can tighten up your threads, you know, do a double thread do a double thread so it's nice and strong, or use a cotton, you know, really strong cotton, and you can manipulate it so you can get the corner absolutely spot on. Okay, and spend a bit of time on that. I think if I glued it, I suppose, and I could use clips as well, so don't rule that out, but I could use clips to hold it. But you know what, I do feel like I want to hand stitch it, so that's what I'm going to do. And when it's hand stitched, it'll look beautiful. It'll look like a treasure box. Okay, and I'll do that over the next week or so. So that's the actual box done, and you could just leave it like that. And I'm sorry it looks a little bit odd. I mean, just take it to the front so you can see it that way. That's a bit better. So you can see that it's going to look gorgeous. Obviously when it's stitched, it's going to fit a lot better, as I said, and that could be the box done, right? So you know, when it's sort of fitting nice, and I'm trying to get it so it looks like how it's going to be finished, but that's almost impossible. So you could just leave it like that, and you could have your buttons in there. Just imagine that, full of buttons. I mean, just far too delicious for words. You could fill it with, you know, things like dried flowers, anything that you could pretty it up. In other words, you could pretty it up. I mean, I think it's just pretty enough as it is. You could put all your threads in there. You could put all your machine needles in there, or your machine feet in there. Somewhere where you can just sort of dip in and out, have it on your desk, and yeah, the job's done. The job's done. However, we might want to think about doing a lid. Now, with the lid, you want exactly the same again. So let me just move all these bits off, because I was having a look at this earlier. So you want the 6x4 again, without a shadow of a doubt, okay? And you want it so you're going to cover it well. So in other words, look at these gorgeous fabrics. So if I flip that over, you want it so it's going to cover, and these sides can come over, because we're going, and you want to make sure that when you do this, it's pretty darn neat, because I'm going to show you what will happen if it's not. Okay, so you want your fabrics to go over the edge so you can bring them just like your box, but I just want to make sure you do that really well, so a good ½ inch. And all I'm going to do is layer up my fabric like this. Let me just take it to the back again. Just bring that over a little smidget. And there we go. And then I want to do loads of hand stitching on there. I've decided I'm going to have my piece, I'm looking for the edge of my bosal there. I'm going to have my lace going down here. Do tend to go on the left hand side. I cut a little flower. You might have seen it a week or so ago. It was a bit wonky, but I quite like it because it's made from an old army blanket, and it took the dye quite well. You can see it's very patchy, it's lovely. And then I've got some really gorgeous buttons, and again I'm trying to pick up that red again, and maybe put it like that. And then I'm going to do the same as what I did right at the very beginning. And I think what I might do, I might treat myself and get my Sashiko machine out and actually Sashiko the whole back of this piece of fabric. I was going to get it out earlier, but I never got a chance to. So I think that's what I'll do. And I think what I'll do is I'll post pictures for you so you can see what the end result looks like. So I'm going to couch that down again like I did right at the beginning, and then I'm just going to take the tail of that up. So if I can pin this, we'll see what that looks like. I know I'm going to be pretty happy with it. I'm going to make that a little bit tighter, but let's just pop it there. And that's kind of what I have in my mind. But I want to do quite a bit of background stitching, so I'll do that, and I put my lace on, I'll cut it, and then what I'll do is I'll take the fabric right round to the back and cover it, and cover the back of this. Now then, I'll tell you what I could do. I could, because I've got glue side up, knowing what I was going to do, I might just iron that down. And is I iron on? I wonder. It is now. If I iron that down, then I can show you roughly what I'm trying to tell you, basically. Now with the lid, I'll iron that down in a sec when the iron gets hot enough. With the lid, I'll leave things as they are. We need the lid to be now this is where you really need to be about 3/8 smaller. So when we did the sides, the lining, where's my ruler? Here it is. When we did the lining, we did it only, thank you, 3/16. But for the lid, the inside of the lid, we want to make it significantly smaller. So I'm going to think about 3/16, and then I'm going to have a look at it. Actually, I think that would be fine looking at it now. So let me just trim that away. Just on one long side. Yeah, so I'll leave that there for a minute so you can see. And then on one short side. And you'll think, whatever. So there's my pieces I cut off. So it was a 6x4. It's now whatever it is, minus a 3/8 and a 3/8. Okay, which leaves me this lid inside the lining, which is smaller than my actual lid is going to be. Does that make sense? So let's just iron this down. So again, I just need to make sure I've got that exactly how I want it to be. Now it's not going to be perfect because I haven't done any stitching on it, but I wanted to show you how to achieve the lid, and I'm going to show you also what you can do for a hinge. If you want a hinge, you don't have to have a hinge. Think about what you want rather than what I'm doing. Okay, so now we've got that kind of stabilised, I can move it about a bit, I'm okay. So this is all going to get stitched down, and when you do these end bits you really want to make sure that they're really neat, so bring them up and really, there we are, look, make them super duper neat. Okay, I mitered the corner on that. We could actually stitch that down real quick. Shall we just do that? Won't take me a minute. Let me get a nice piece of thread. Let's have a piece of, oh, I might as well just go for regular cotton. Right, there is a reason why I'm showing you this. There's a reason. So this is a Metler thread. I don't know where I got it from. I don't buy Metler. Perhaps it came with the machine. It might have done, one of the machines. So let's just get this stitched down. I mean, I'm going to go over this anyway, so I haven't put a knot in it, although I've just developed one, of course I have. So I'll just do a couple of stitches just to secure it, and then you're just literally doing huge slip stitches, but you want to make sure that you're nowhere near the edge of your bowsle. So this is why you need the piece that you cut at least ½ an inch bigger all the way around, at least. So let's just fold our corner, make it a mitre, catch it. Oh, this is a big needle, and then just slip stitch again. I'm not bothered what this looks like because we're covering it, so you can, you know, be as rough and ready as you like. You don't want to do a running stitch, you don't want to go through to the front. This is why this bowsle is really good, because you've got this cotton, this lovely soft cotton backing, and that's what you want to be stitching. You don't want to be stitching the glue side. But I mean, if you've used anything else, you'll find the way that'll work for you. And you could end up just using a textile glue. Why not? I'm all for making life easy. Oops. So let's just quickly stitch this down. Won't take a moment, she says, hurrying. And oh, I was a bit close there, but let's just bring that around. So hopefully you'll think about what we've been doing. Look back at some of the techniques, some of the things that we've done or I've done, and maybe it's one little thing that might have stuck in your mind and thought, you know what, I wouldn't mind having a little go at that. So even if it was just making Suffolk puffs, which I love, and just making, yeah, I'll keep reminding you, make one of these, put 3 Suffolk puffs on the front, layer up some stuff, lovely fabrics, maybe you've done the momigami. Gosh, I wish I had more time to do that. I love that process. And do a little bit of random stitching. And please don't worry and don't ever apologise for your work, because your work is always the best ever, and it's unique and it's beautiful, and you must never criticise yourself. You know, we all say, oh gosh, look at the state of that stitching. I usually say, look at the state of my cutting, because I'm always in such a hurry. I'd love to be accurate, but I haven't got time to be. I haven't got time. It's like, grab the scissors quick. Oh dear me. And one day, and then I'll be too old. Mind you, I keep thinking of David Attenborough and how fantastic he is at 97. And I think, what? You've got to keep going, guys. Don't ever succumb to whatever you know, you think holds you back. Just, you know, go for it. Anyway, enough of that. So there's my background, and you know I'm going to cover that with stitch, but this is just purely for you guys to see how to do this lid. So this is our inside. Now, can you see why we've cut it smaller? I'm thinking that's going to fit inside your box. So when your box is done, and I want it to sit flat. I think if we didn't bring it in, it might kind of sit on top of it, and we want this bit to sit inside the box. So let me get my felt and I'll show you how I covered my whatever it is, my sides. So I'm quite generous with my cutting. I found that actually to be the best. So, like I say, this is the glue side of this, and I could have put that down and I could glue that on, but I've still got to neaten the corners and the sides. So you can, you don't have to, okay? So I've got my glue. Now, like I said, there's plenty of other glues that you can use. You don't have to use what I'm using. And I'm cutting a smidge, a millimetre away from the point. Get a ruler if you're feeling nervous about doing that, okay? But you want to be about a millimetre away. We don't want to be right on the point, okay? You're not making, you know, you're not trimming up a box corner or something like that, or whatever. You need just a wee bit of fabric on the other side of your point, okay? And then, if you're using textile glue, which is absolutely perfectly fine, arm yourself with some clips and with your glue of choice, and it can be like just a regular, I would imagine even a PVA might work, but you just want to run a little bit along your work. Now this is going to drip everywhere because it just does, and you're just going to bring in that first corner, look, so it's gorgeous, and then you're just going to work that up, and you're pushing it onto, you're pushing the felt or whatever you're using onto your pelmet violin, okay? You're putting the flat side, which you should anyway, but you need to know this, the flat side of your clip on the best side of your piece, and the rounded part, which has the grippy bits, into this side, because if you don't, you'll end up with grip marks on this side. I mean, it'll probably iron out if you're careful, but so it's the flat side, yeah, to the outside of your, where it's going to look gorgeous. So you're just going to look at that glue, it's dreadful stuff, but it is good stuff. So you're just literally running your glue along there. If you've got bookbinding glue, then use that. I would prefer using bookbinding glue, I must admit, but I couldn't find mine. John said, do you think I've got it? I said, yes, probably. So you're probably going to be in his shed tomorrow looking for it. I don't need it now. I've sorted. So just push, so you've got a nice sharp edge, yeah? And just bring those corners together. Can you see that? And just put at least 4 clips on, and see that corner there? Just bring the felt together. I might just take that off for a minute. Bring the felt together, and because you've used a nice amount of glue, that's going to sit together nicely, okay? And so let's just carry on. So this is nothing technical. All of us can do sticking and gluing, and even if you do one little bit of this box, then this is something that you could practice, isn't it? You could practice doing something like this with a fabric glue or a textile glue, okay? And then just go back and squidge it, because the glue is there, it just needs to be encouraged. And then around here, yeah, this is lovely. I love this. I love this so much. So you see how that felt comes together really, really neatly, but you want to tell it, right? You want to say, I'm the boss, you're going to stay there. If you need to use 100 clips, do it. You won't. You might if you're using PVA. That PVA will soak into your felt, but it will glue it eventually. You just got to let it dry, okay? So let's put the lid back on that before I have any more on my desk. Can you see the great lumps of it? It does actually dry quite nicely, and I've actually I can scrub it off. Let me just take the residue off, because I know I'll end up putting my hand on it. There we go, and that will just rub away. Look, not too bad. There we go, nice. Okay, so obviously now that's our lid inside done, our lid lining, and it always looks gorgeous and neat, yeah? And we did that, what, in 5 minutes? So let's just give it a squidge. Now, you know I'm going to stitch my lid, so I'm not going to glue this on, but I want you to see what it looks like. So now we can take these off. It only takes a minute to set. It'll still be a little bit damp, but you can stitch it, it won't move, and it will be absolutely fine. Let's get rid of the rubbish. Okay, and just have another little look at it, and you'll be, I don't know if you'll be able to see, but it's marked it, not a lot, but if you'd left those clips on longer, it would be marked, and so it's better to have the marks on the inside than the outside. And then obviously once I've made my beautiful lid, there, you see how perfect that looks? But it has an edge to it, yeah? It has that height to it. So I'm hoping that that will sit inside the box. I'm pretty sure it will. If it doesn't, well, so be it. It's just a lid. Okay, so that's how, and I will actually hand stitch that on. You could hot glue it, and or you could use your textile glue again. There's nothing wrong with that, but I probably will hand stitch it on. So that would be your lid complete. Okay, hinges. So I've got a couple of ideas. You need to decide which is obviously the back of your front. That originally was my front, but I'm quite liking that as my front now. So what you need to do is to be able to get something that pleases you. I'm thinking I'm going to use a long hinge, right? But what you could do, and let me take that away, is that you could have two pieces of fabric and position them, because I've chosen this because the tones of the fabric, the tea dyeing is just gorgeous. Just position them there. And to be honest, I'd probably do this bit first and stitch those down. So maybe you're going to use like a sashiko stitch, a running stitch. Maybe you're going to do cross stitch all the way around, maybe French knots covering it, maybe seed stitching, we did that last week. Anything just to secure those down. And then all you're going to do is whatever the back of your box is, you're going to have to position this on there and do the same. So you've got to consider what you've put where. So for instance, I probably want to move that in just a wee bit, and that's fine. And I could trim my hinges. I don't have to have them this big because they're all going to be well stitched down. The other thing I thought about was a long hinge like this. It's just a scrap of fabric, literally that's how I would leave it. Now the lace bit I could put here. I'm stuck because I've got this bit, but I could just literally put it on the edge of my box, and I'll do this before I put my red lining in, and I'll hand stitch that down and make it secure. And then when I come to put my lid on, I'm going to hand stitch that on like that. Okay, so I've got to always be aware of where I want things. I think what I would do in this case, and I do like the idea of having a long hinge, so I think what I'll do is I will stitch this part onto here and make this hinge part of the lid, and then I can just hand stitch the lacy part onto the back of my box, and I think that would look beautiful. I really do. And this is all about being a little bit rustic and being a little bit not being too precise, and I know a lot of you might struggle with that, but trust me, you can enjoy it, and the results you will be so proud of. I can't even tell you. You'll be so proud of yourself. So that's what I'm going to do. That's my master plan. Okay, I'm going to stitch this. I'm going to give it a little bit more room, so maybe take it over the edge by, I don't know, that's 1/8 of an inch, maybe a little bit more. And I'm going to incorporate that hinge into the top of my work. By the time I've added all my other bits and bobs, so obviously that's going to be trimmed. Let's do it now. Okay, stitch that down. Oh, just gorgeous. And then I can put my flower over my hinge a bit. Don't forget, all of the back will be stitched as well. Oh, that little bit come out now. Maybe I'll put that in the middle. and those like that. And then I've got my lovely, lovely, and this is a bit like a handle, isn't it? And that's going to go like that, and then I'm just going to snake it round a bit like that. Well, I'm not going to kick the hinge off, but you know what I'm saying. It's going to be a bit more snaky. And then I'm going to add a little bit of glitter with my glitter pens and liven it up a bit. So that is actually the finish of the box. Once I get it stitched, and I will get it stitched, and I'll put a photo in the group so you can see it. But hopefully I've given you enough information for you to be able to finish your box or start a little bit of it, even if you just do that. And I thought that was a really good example of just doing a little bit, and that means you're joining in and you're taking part, and you're being, you makes you feel good about you, okay? And that's what it's all about, surely. So have a little go, now before I go I want to show you something, because you're let's get those out of the way so I don't lose them. Because you're my platinum members, you know our personal challenge at the moment, or one of our other personal challenges at the moment, is our Let's Make a Quilt, okay? And I've kept that title because I quite like it. So Let's Make a Quilt is all about you guys sending me your quilt blocks, and we're keeping them to even inches. So forget about seam allowance, think of finished block of 4, 6, 8 and 12. So it would be a 4.5 inch block, a 6.5 inch block, an 8.5 inch block and a 12.5 inch block, okay? And once I get, well, I can't remember if we gave it a deadline. Certainly I was talking to Tina at the weekend and I said I can't remember a deadline, but it's going to be this side of Christmas, isn't it, when you stop sending me blocks, maybe. And obviously, you know, in featured you will find the address of Tina at the Cozy Cabin for you to send the blocks to, and she messaged me today to say there were more to pick up, so I've got to go tomorrow and pick more up. But I thought I'd show you what I got in the meantime, and I've got a bit of a heap. So I'm going to stitch them together. Once I get all the blocks, I'm going to lay them out on my sitting room floor. That's probably the cleanest place in the house, or the biggest space that's tidy. I'm going to lay them all out, and I'm going to piece them together. I'll take a photo and then I will piece them together and we'll make a quilt. It's possible I might make 2 or even 3. So I don't know, it's up to you, isn't it? So how many you send me. I'm not doing it. I've got blocks that I can contribute, but I'm not going to do them all. I'm relying on you guys. So if we have another look at the overhead again, let's see if I can get my mouse in the right place. Now I've still got the names with them because I do want to at some point, it's from Marilyn obviously, I want at some point to put names on here. So you know, I may just put in it with a permanent marker, I may just put a name in there, and that would be obviously Marilyn. So excuse me if you're seeing names and personal messages, I do apologise for that. But I want to keep the pieces together because I shall never ever remember. So beautiful blocks from Marilyn. I mean, they're all beautiful, they're all beautiful. I'm going to try and keep them together. And a gorgeous paper piece block as well, so I've got to take the paper off. Thanks Marilyn. I've got to take the paper off, and this one is now from Kim. So look, I've got my piece of paper, so that's from Kim, and have a look at that. So you can see how eclectic this quilt's going to be. So I'm going to put Kim's name there. This is from Karen Trevelyan, and of course that really reminds me of my past because it's Crafter's Companion fabric, and it was so lovely range with Sarah, wasn't it, if I remember rightly. So this is Karen's blocks that she sent me. So we've got some 12-inch blocks going on. Oh, now I wonder if these are from you as well, Karen. Perhaps they are. So I will keep them all together. So there's one, There's 2. Oh no, hold on. There's 2 and there's 3. So is this from Christmas? From the Christmas quarter? Look. No, it's just reading the note. So that's from Karen, and then we've got this is from Jane. So all of this is from Jane. So let me put her note there. So look, I've got all these little blocks that she's made. Look, I assume these are 4.5. If they're not, I'll put them together and then I'll trim. I'm picking up 3 or 4 at a time here, guys. Look, there's loads. There must be how many? 30 in that little heap. And I've got this little heap. So look. Now it's possible that I could use all of these as borders, yeah? So I could join them all together and make a long border, or a long piece to go in the centre, you know, or down a side or whatever. But look at that, isn't that lovely? She's so neat. Jane, it's marvellous. So those are from Jane. So let's put her name back on there. Oh, there's one missing, that's it. And this little letter is from Wendy. And now Wendy's in America, so thank you very much, Wendy. So we've got the maple leaf. Now perhaps she's Canada. Anyway, so isn't that glorious? Batiks, that's a 12.5 inch, obviously. Another one there. Oh, put those back. Another one there. So we've got 2 maple leaves. So we got a real, you know, I don't know what's the word. Well, an eclectic mix, that's for sure, but a worldwide mix. What does that say there? Can't read it. I can't read it. Perhaps Wendy can tell me. Anyway, so that's a 12.5 inch. Put that down. This is from Jeanette. So that's lovely. Fantastic. Another 12.5 inch block. Let's put that there. So this is from Susan Palmer. Thank you, Susan. I love the postcard. And these are all these lovely blocks. Well, that one. Yeah, that one. Beautiful. I love it. Let's put that there. So this is from Linda. Oh, Linda's put her name on. Well done, Linda. I've got to get a permanent pen so I can do that with all yours, all the others. That's from Linda. These are from Pat. Now these came from America, so thank you very much, Pat. So all of these, again, you see I can mix them up with the others. Perhaps Pat and Jane did the same workshop or something. Got lots of bits left over. Super, really lovely. Thank you very much, Pat. Absolutely fab. And then we've got Sally. Oh, one of Adrienne's blocks in there. That is so pretty. Lovely, lovely, lovely. And then this is Ruth. This is from Ruth. So again, we've got some bumbleberry there. Look, it's got a shine to it. It's lovely, isn't it? That's from Ruth. And then this is from Marion. This is from Marion, and this was using, I think it must be Crafty UK's Wonky Log Cabin templates. I don't have Wonky Log Cabin. So yeah, and that's Christmas fabrics. So we've got shinies, we've got batiks, we've got sort of like children-y type fabric, you know, little, baby fabrics. We've got fabrics that really bring back some memories to me. You know, we've got the applique, the paper piece block. I mean, just fantastic. Just absolutely fantastic. So keep sending me your blocks, guys, because you can see that I am really, really proud of all of those blocks. So at the moment, that's not enough, right? I need 3 times that, Mum. 4 times, perhaps even. So come on, get them made, get them sent to Tina. Yes, I know it's going to cost you postage, but it's going to get made into a quilt for charity for each East Anglian Children's Hospice, which is very dear to my heart. and we will raffle it off. I'm not sure how we're going to do it yet, but we will. We'll sort something out. We have to be careful because Facebook doesn't like raffles, fundraising, that type of thing. Yeah, so we have to be careful how we do it. But there we are, that's the start, and I'm very, very proud of you all, and I'm picking more up tomorrow, which is fantastic. Right, I'm going to love you and leave you now. We're nearly at 8 o'clock anyway. Yes, dig through the works in progress blocks, because if you're not going to use them, you send them to me. I'll have them. I'm not proud. Susan says, yes, they are fabulous. I will have a go. Really not confident with quilting blocks. You don't have to quilt them. You're patching them. You're doing the patchwork. So just do 4 patches. Just do, you know, what would they be? 6.5-inch squares maybe. And just patch them together. That's patchwork. You're not quilting. Marion says, can we send more? Of course. I need 3 or 4 times this amount, Marion. So come on, pull your fingers out. I'm trying to be kind. Zoe says, I'll get cracking this weekend. Well done. Rosemary, what an amazing collection. Jeanette, wow, lovely blocks. Going to be such a special collective quilt. It's going to be a special collective quilt with an eclectic twist to it. It's going to be really wacky, isn't it? Because we wouldn't choose to put those fabrics together, would we? And we wouldn't choose to put a plique in amongst all the little blocks, for instance, or, you know? But that's what's going to make it special, surely. So it's going to look amazing. I'm really excited about it. Karen says, I'll get some done hopefully next week. Been a bit busy here. Oh, we're all busy, Karen. But you just see if you can find yourself 10 minutes for a bit of stitching. And stitch, like I say, a 4 patch, a 9 patch, that will do. Doesn't have to be anything fancy. Or do some crazy patchwork. Just do, I don't know, 6.5-inch block of crazy patchwork. Just have a little play. Nicholas says, oh, these are looking lovely. They absolutely are. Susan says she's posted hers today. Hurrah! I'll probably pick that up tomorrow then, Susan. I'll let you know. Shirley says she's posted hers today as well. Fabulous. Yeah, I'm really pleased with what you've done so far. I was quite amazed when I picked up the post. Tina has a box that she's put to one side that says for Lizzy, and she's not opening any post that says Tina on it because she's assuming it's for me. I just hope I don't get one of her electric bills or something like that, because she'll have it back. So there we are. So I will pop and get those tomorrow. Thank you ever so much for tonight. It's been absolutely super as usual. Sorry, Millie, time it beautifully. Don't forget, tomorrow in the main members group I'm live and I'm with Kath. We're doing something special. Then on Friday I'm live at 6 and I need to speak to Abby, make sure I'm not clashing with her, but I'm live at 6 with my sample sale. So some of the samples that you've seen over the last 2, 3, perhaps 4 years, I'm going to see how much I can do in an hour. If I probably need another hour at some point, but they'll all be up for sale. I'm going to be whizzing through them. I've got Kath ready to put payment links on your comments. It's going to be fast and furious. If we can't keep up, we'll catch up later, don't worry. And then I'm live on Monday on my page. I'm going to be making Poppy, the little tiny, I don't think I've got my, yes, I'll show you. We're going to make Poppy. Let me get it, because it's one of my favourite things. It usually has my clips in. So that's what we're making on Monday, Lizzy Curtis. So join me for that. You got the mims, they're all in the files. Right, I shall love you and leave you. Thank you so much for taking part in the Treasure Tea Box. Thank you to Nick for the name. It's absolutely perfect. Have a little go. Just do a little something. Use all that fabric that you've tea dyed and make something beautiful for yourself. Okay? Right, I shall see you tomorrow night at 7 o'clock in the group as normal. Okay, not here, in the group. Bye bye everybody.